Hyundai's Ioniq 5 was absolutely amazing for their first E-GMP platform electric vehicle. Now for 2023, the IONIQ6 streamliner is here to take the brand that much further into efficiency with their electrification. Going over the points first for the streamliner, driving range target of 340 miles. Now that's not EPA, but typically what manufacturers do is they undershoot their estimations and then EPA will come out with the actual estimation. So it would look really bad if they gave us like, oh, it was 340, we thought it was going to be, then the EPA smacked us with, 320. It's typically the other way around. It's like, okay, 340 is what we're hoping for. And then EPA will come in and be like, okay, well, it's 345 or 350. So I think there's a really good shot here of that range being over 340 miles. But even if it's just 340 miles, what does that compete with? We're going to head over to Edmunds. EV range leaderboard. This isn't talking about efficiency because battery packs aren't taken, or battery pack size or miles per kilowatt. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. But just in pure EV range, is trading blows with the Model S Plaid, the Model 3 long range, and right there with the Lightning Lariat as well as the Mach-E Route 1 or Route 1. Would you guys say route or route? Let me know down below. So it's going to be right at the top of the class, if not leading everyone in terms of range for the price point. So it only took Ioniq, what, 2 years? 2 years of them having mainstream EVs out there on a dedicated skateboard platform to be leading the way. Like, major applause. So let's get into the rest of the details here. No surprise, it has its 800-volt charging, 10 to 80% in 18 minutes. That's best case scenario. More than likely, it's probably going to be around 30 minutes. It all depends on the type of charger you can find. But regardless, it is still one of the fastest out there on the market. Single curved aerodynamic profile creates Hyundai's lowest drag coefficient of 0.22. Now, it was 0.21 for the other it's global specs because they have digital side mirrors. Here in America, it's not legal. So you have traditional actual mirrors instead of little cameras off the side, and so that barely puts a dent into well, it just slows it down just a slight bit. We have a new Hyundai H emblem design and more than 700 parametric pixels. So I did not know about this design here. Looking at the front on this H design, that looks exactly the same. So let's look at the back here. Do you see anything different with this Hyundai H design here? Not quite sure what they're talking about. Maybe it's more flat to the vehicle. It's not quite as 3D or something. The Ioniq 6 goes on sale here in North America in spring of 2023. Pricing will be announced closer to on sale date, but it should be price competitive with the Ioniq 5. So upper trims, we're talking around $50,000, but you probably can get into this vehicle around $40,000. Now, if we look at the wheelbase here, it's 2 inches smaller or 2 inches narrower than what we have on the Ioniq 5. And if we look at the coefficient of drag 0.22, the Ioniq 5 is at 0.29. So definitely a lot more slippery than the larger, more boxy electric brother. And what makes the Ioniq 5 one of my favorite EVs is the excellent and minimal interior. Now, the Ioniq 6 seems to be targeting a younger crowd here with all like the sophistication of these like LEDs on the door panels, all the different LED lights in here. I think there are like 64 different colors you can pick. And different themes as well. That's going to separate the colors. Now, this looks to be the same steering wheel as the Ioniq 5. That's not a bad thing. We also have that drive mode button right in here. Kind of reminds me of where it's at as well as that we see in like the GV60 from Genesis. Has the same shift stock here that we see on the Ioniq 5 as well. This all looks very similar to what we see in the Ioniq 5. They don't need to change much because that interior, I really wouldn't change anything about. Now, it's not quite as free-flowing as the Ioniq 5. You see this partition here that separates the front two seats, and they are advertising this so you can put your laptop in it and you can charge your laptop, you can work in here. But I do like the roominess and more open nature of the Ioniq 5, to be honest, over this. But overall, this is still going to be better than most interiors out there on the market. No surprise with a lot of EV automakers or just hybrid automakers, they have a lot of recycled and bio parts in here. So, you're not like slaying a bunch of animals to get the materials in here or creating a lot of pollution. They're reusing, recycling. It's a good thing. And we need this going into the future to be much more common and pretty much the norm, to be honest. So I said 72 kilowatt hours earlier. It's 77.4. I was thinking probably the BZ4X. They claim that has 72 about there. Now, in terms of acceleration and horsepower, we have 320 horsepower if you get the dual motor and 446 pound-feet of torque. Same thing we see in the GV60 base model, as well as, let's say, the Ioniq 5 or even the Kia EV6. It's plenty fast. 320 horsepower and 446 pound-feet of torque. I want to say 0 to 60 around 5 seconds on the models I've tested with that configuration. Oh, well, there it says less than 5 seconds, but it's around 5 seconds, to be honest. But you can save a little bit of money if you want just rear-wheel drive, 225 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. And that's where you get the 340 miles, of course, with the single motor, because it is lighter. So 340 miles on the single motor rear-wheel drive and 310 miles still on the all-wheel drive model. Man, when I see that extra range there, that extra efficiency, makes me want to spring for that rear-wheel drive. But if you live in crappy climates, I get it. You're going to have to get that all-wheel drive. But also keep in mind, with all battery electric vehicles, even hybrids, when it gets cold out, your battery is going to lose efficiency. So these ranges will go down once you get probably under 50 degrees and lower. The colder it gets, the worse things get for EV. We talked about the 350 kilowatt fast charger with the 800 volt system. If you wanted to plug it in at home, best case scenario with the level 2 charging, you can charge it to full in less than 8 hours. So plug it in overnight if it's completely depleted. And you can do that with a 10.9 kilowatt onboard charger. We have an improvement on over-the-air updates. I think the Ioniq 5 had some issues with over-the-air updates, like they weren't able to fix some things with the recall with over-the-air updates, like Tesla does all the time. So hopefully this Ioniq 5 has that next level over-the-air update where they can fix a lot of those issues without having to take it into the dealer. You also get unlimited charging for 2 years with Electrify America. That's pretty nice. Here's all the safety features. I'm not going to get into it. It's going to put me and yourselves to sleep. Here are your colors: Gravity Gold Matte, Onyx Black Pearl, Serenity White Pearl, Curated Silver Metallic, Transmission Blue Pearl, which is funny because it doesn't really have a traditional transmission in here. Ultimate Red Metallic, and Digital Green Pearl. Interior has 3 color options: black, gray, and dark green gray. I like the gray, especially if it's going to look a lot like what we have on the Ioniq 5, for example. So I cannot wait to drive this vehicle. Fingers crossed I get invited to the drive event in the spring for this streamliner. I think it's a really cool looking car. I like the looks of it over the Ioniq 5. That's completely subjective. And I like the more sedan-like nature of this vehicle. It'll probably handle very similarly to the Ioniq 5, but with a slightly shorter wheelbase. It might be slightly more nimble, more fun to drive in the turns, but it's probably not. It's the same, platform, etc. So we'll see. But 340 miles of range, that is incredible. Bring for that rear-wheel drive version over the all-wheel drive. I mean, having over 320 horsepower of electric ponies on tap is pretty addictive. But I'm getting to there, guys. Quick little update. I wasn't able to stay in LA, or let's say I didn't want to stay in LA for the LA Auto Show. Would have been great for the channel, but with doing the reveals for the Toyota Prius and stuff, it was just going to be too much time away from my family, honestly. So I'd rather work from home than be working from abroad, if that makes sense. So thank you guys for your support. Smash the like button, subscribe for more Ioniq news, more Hyundai news, more Korean and Japanese auto news coming down the hatch. Take care of yourselves. Peace.